whispers in the abandoned house. This happened to me a few years back, and I can still feel the fear like it was yesterday. It was a typical Friday night, and my best friends, Sarah and Mark, had come over for a sleepover at my house. My parents were away for the weekend, so we had the whole place to ourselves. We decided to make the most of it by binge-watching scary movies and gorging on pizza and snacks. Around midnight, after we'd watched our fair share of horror flicks, we started telling ghost stories to make the night even spookier. That's when Mark mentioned a local legend about an old abandoned house not far from my place. It was said to be haunted, and no one had dared to enter it for decades. Of course, we didn't believe in ghosts, so we decided to embark on a daredevil adventure. Armed with flashlights, we made our way to the decrepit house. Its windows were shattered, and the place looked like it had been forgotten by time itself. As we cautiously entered the house, the air grew cold, and the atmosphere was suffocatingly eerie. We explored the creaky, dimly lit rooms, finding old photographs and faded furniture, which only added to the unsettling ambience. Then, we heard it, a faint, distant whisper that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. My heart pounded, and I could see the same terror reflected in Sarah and Mark's eyes. We followed the chilling whisper into a decrepit basement, where an old mirror stood. In the dim light of our flashlights, we saw something in that mirror. Something that shouldn't have been there. A figure, pale and ghastly, with hollow eyes and a twisted grin, appeared behind us in the reflection. We screamed and turned around, but there was nothing there. Panic took over as we rushed back upstairs and out of the house, not looking back. The whispering grew louder, echoing in our ears as we fled. We didn't stop running until we were safely back at my house. We never spoke about what we saw that night again, but the memory still haunts me. To this day, I wonder if it was just our imaginations or if something truly paranormal lurked in that old abandoned house. All I know is that it was the most terrifying sleepover of our lives, and I hope I never experience anything like it again. Haunted Melody in the Midnight Woods. This happened when I was around 13 years old, and it's something I'll never forget. It was a warm summer evening, and my friends, Alex and Emily, were over at my house for a sleepover. My parents had gone away for the weekend, leaving us with the perfect opportunity for some late-night mischief. We decided to set up a tent in the backyard, just for fun, and camp out under the stars. As the night went on, we told ghost stories, roasted marshmallows, and laughed until our sides hurt. But around midnight, as the moon hung high in the sky, something strange began to happen. We heard faint, eerie music drifting through the air, like an old music box playing a haunting melody. Confused and more than a little curious, we decided to follow the music. It led us to a cluster of trees at the edge of the woods behind my house. There, we found a worn, dusty path that we'd never noticed before. The music seemed to be coming from deeper within the woods. Bravely, or perhaps foolishly, we decided to venture into the woods, flashlights in hand. The further we walked, the darker and more sinister the forest seemed to become. The trees grew taller and more twisted, casting strange, elongated shadows that danced eerily. Finally, we stumbled upon an old, dilapidated cabin hidden among the trees. It looked like something straight out of a horror movie, with boards nailed haphazardly over the windows and an air of desolation that sent shivers down our spines. The music grew louder as we cautiously approached the cabin. With trembling hands, I pushed open the creaky door, revealing a room bathed in an eerie, dim light. And there, in the center of the room, was an old music box, its lid slowly rotating as the haunting melody played on. We were mesmerized and terrified all at once. Who had brought us to this place? And why? We were about to make our escape when we heard a soft voice whisper our names from behind. We turned around, and that's when we saw her. A pale, spectral figure dressed in an old-fashioned, tattered gown. We screamed and fled the cabin, racing back to my house without looking back. The music faded into the distance as we stumbled through the woods, heartbeats thundering in our chests. We never found out who or what that ghostly figure was, but we knew we had stumbled upon something otherworldly that night. We never ventured into those woods again, and the memory of that sleepover still haunts me. The girl in the attic. I was 12 years old when I had my first sleepover. My best friend, Sarah, invited me over to her house. Her parents were going out of town for the weekend, so we would have the whole house to ourselves. We were so excited. We spent the day playing video games, watching movies, and eating junk food. At night, we told ghost stories and dared each other to go into the basement. After a while, we got tired and went to bed. I was sleeping in the guest room, and Sarah was sleeping in her room. I woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of someone crying. I sat up in bed and listened. The crying was coming from the attic. I got out of bed and went to the attic door. It was closed, but I could hear the crying even louder now. I slowly opened the door and peered inside. The attic was dark, but I could see a figure huddled in the corner. It was a girl, and she was crying, her eyes out. "What's wrong?" I asked. The girl didn't answer. She just kept crying. I took a step into the attic. "It's okay," I said. "I'm here to help." The girl looked up at me. Her eyes were red and swollen. "Please," she said, "you have to get me out of here." "I will," I said. "I promise." I reached out to the girl, but she recoiled in fear. "Don't touch me," she said. "They'll see you." "Who?" I asked. "Them," she said. "The ones who keep me here." I didn't know what to say. I just stood there, frozen with fear. The girl took a deep breath and wiped her tears away. "Thank you," she said, "for trying to help me." Then she turned and ran into the darkness. I stood there for a long time, listening to the sound of her footsteps fading away. Then I closed the attic door and went back to bed. I didn't sleep well that night. I kept thinking about the girl in the attic. I wondered who she was and why she was being kept there. The next morning, I told Sarah what had happened. She didn't believe me at first, but then she went up to the attic and saw the footprints in the dust. We never saw the girl again, but I never forgot her. I still wonder who she was and what happened to her.